Kaufman Corner Podcast is live here on a Thursday. If you're catching us via the podcast, remember you can be a part of the conversation. Comment in the chat room with your fellow Royals fans here as we go live Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. With us, as always, former Royals outfielder Les Norman, David Lesky from Inside the Crown. I'm Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB. We are talking Royals baseball. Maikel Garcia, another impressive performance last night. As I said, we tape here on a Thursday. Is it time to lock up Maikel Garcia? He is having a breakout year, and it doesn't look like it's going to go away. We'll talk about that. What does the Royals record need to be to officially be selling, to officially be buying the Royals versus a New York blogger? Why did the Royals get so fired up about something that was written by someone who really basically writes about the Mets? We'll talk about that. How much better is Salvy with rest? Turns out, David's got some interesting numbers. If you don't play all the time, maybe you can be a little bit better. The Rays sold for $1.7 billion, or it looks like they're going to sell for $1.7 billion. What does that mean? Will we see Cole Ragans again this year? We're talking about all things Royals here on the Kaufman Corner Podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner Podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Les Norman is a former Royals outfielder. He's the host of Breaking the Norm with Les Norman on Sports Radio 810 WHB, as well as the author of Teaching the Tools of Hitting. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world. Home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it, get with Dave and he'll have you covered. Give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. Off and running here with the Kaufman Corner Podcast. How about it, David? We'll start with you. I know you wrote about Maikel Garcia in your latest edition of the Inside the Crown. What do you think? Lock him up? For that, let me be clear, in this charged political environment that we talked about today, I mean, lock him up to a long-term contract extension and make sure that he can't go someplace else. Has he proven to be that kind of player, a building block player?
Yeah, I mean, he's closer. For me, it's not quite there because the season last year is still very close. I mean, we're not even halfway through this season, but we are almost halfway through. And at some point, you kind of have to believe the numbers. And Maikel Garcia right now is the best hitter on the Royals. And that's a team that has Bobby Witt Jr. And Witt's not having a 2024 Witt season or even a 2023 Witt season. Actually, it's similar to 2023, but it's not nothing that you're better than Bobby Witt Jr. offensively with the slash stats. That's a big deal. And he's doing it in a way that I feel is pretty sustainable. He doesn't chase much. He doesn't strike out much. He probably doesn't walk as much as he could, but it's not bad. I mean, 8.5% walk rate is roughly league average. Hits the ball hard. He's getting smarter at the plate, it feels like. I mean, I wrote about this today, that the home run was a recognition of a pitch that he could drive. And the at bat in the 8th inning, when he hit the triple down the line, that was, he's going to give me a changeup on the outside corner. I'm going to hit the ball to the right side and get Witt to third. It worked out even better than that. But that was a very savvy approach at the plate. We've seen that more and more. The base running has been better. I mean, he was getting caught like crazy early in the year, but he's been much better in that regard. What I think is really interesting, I looked this up earlier. There are, in the last 5 full seasons, there are 32 third basemen who have played at least 75% of their games at third. I thought that was a decent threshold. Who have had 60 or more extra base hits. That's 6 a year. And Garcia is on pace for that. It's not like he's the best third baseman in baseball, but he's doing things that that not many guys do. I mean, you're talking about Austin Riley, Rafael Devers, back when he played third, Matt Chapman, Nolan Arenado. Then there are some names like Eduardo Escobar is on this list. And yeah, so there's some risk that maybe it's a one-time thing, but these are legitimate third basemen. And at some point, the Royals always have the approach of I'd rather pay a little bit more later than
that was a
and
famous Dayton Moore line is I'd rather pay wait a little longer, be more sure, and pay a little bit more later on and make sure of what we're getting. That was always his approach.
And that's fine. I get it. You lower the risk, but you raise the cost quite a bit. And if they went to Maikel Garcia today, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I haven't thought about it yet about what it would be. But if they went to Maikel Garcia today, it would cost a lot less than it would in November if he keeps this up. And so, at some point you've got to say, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk, and I'm going to say, we're going to give this guy some money because nothing he's shown me this year says that this isn't real. Maybe not 318 real, but real enough that you feel like you can get this guy and you feel comfortable with him for 5 to 7 years.
He's got a 500 slug this year. 344 was his career slug coming into this year. Les, we talked about him early. It was kind of like, oh, is this like last year? Is this real? And we haven't really come back around to him. And what he has done is proven that, at least for this year, this is real, right? He continues to hit with more pop, more power. David said career high in home runs already. We're not even halfway through the year. What are you ready to embrace that, listen, no one's asking him to be a 40 home run guy, and that's not the pace that he's on. He's on pace for about 20 home runs right now, but 20 home runs with that defense, that base running, the doubles, everything he brings in, that's a pretty good piece. Are you ready to say this is it? This is him. This is who he is. He's an 800 plus OPS guy.
Before I answer the question, I want to ask you guys a quick question. When you monitor and look up the chase rate, is chase rate based on chasing a bad pitch and then swinging and missing, or is contact involved as well?
All swings. Oh, any swing. If they make contact, it's a chase.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me right now, I'm going to give you the player perspective, obviously, which you probably know the answer is lock this dude up right now, because I'm the player that would want that. But also, again, because you will pay more later if he does keep this up. Now, for me, he's probably going to keep this up because of the things I'm seeing. And again, it's that technical mindset for me. But if you watch some of his hits, he's seeing the ball so well right now that he's not pulling off. He stays through the ball. He's hitting pitches 6 inches or less off the ground, and not only hitting line drives with them, but hitting them hard. I mean, to be able to take a changeup, to your point, David, to be able to take a changeup that's outside and wait long enough and hit a triple down the line and hit it hard and not look like you're bailing out or you're way out front or you're just one arm slapping the ball the other way. There's the zone, and then there's just something that he's doing right now. So as I watch him technically, he's in complete control of almost every single thing that he does. Now, he's not Superman. He's hitting 318, not 618. But again, the idea is that you watch him hit, and the things that he's doing well with keeping his head still, keeping his hands back, keeping his front shoulder on the ball, and then as soon as his hands engage the bat to a pitch, instantly as his hands move forward, his head stays still. See highlights of Albert Pujols here. It's incredible what he's doing. Now, you also watch him play defense. I mean, his footwork, his accuracy on his throws, the strength on his throws. And this is also a guy that is not a super big guy. He's tall and lean, but he's not a super big guy either. And so I hope that they realize the talent that they have. This is just not about the numbers. He's bringing so many things to the table and doing them exceptionally well that he's turning into, I can't believe we have this guy. And he's fairly young. So the short of it is I would lock this guy down sooner than later. I know Dayton Moore said pay more later to make sure. I feel like it's enough now, not just roses and candy corn rainbow thing. I'd lock the guy down now because you're going to pay less. And I feel like from what I'm seeing, you're going to get this. Everybody has the cyclical stuff, but I think you're going to get this for a while.
Yeah, and that's good to hear. And David, we talk about, when he would be a free agent, when you lose control, you control him through the 29 season. He'd be 30 when he gets out there. So that is kind of one of the game. Like, I like the idea of locking him up and getting 30, 31, 32 under control. But only if you feel like, okay, we're gonna get some savings here, right? Like, so, because otherwise you do control most of his most productive years. It's kind of like Vinny Pasquantino, unfortunately for Vinny, he's 31 or 2, I think, when he gets to free agency. I mean, that's one of those where it's like, okay, do we really need what are we locking up here? 33, 34? Like, are those years we really want to be obligated to pay him? Maikel Garcia, you're in safe years, but how much is there to gain? Is this where we need to understand if they're going to do things the Rays way? You're probably not going to get to those years anyway. You're going to be trading those guys when they come around, or no? Do we think that they can be a little more like what I would call the Cardinals way, and that they're going to carry a heavier payroll, and that they will keep some of the core building blocks? Like, I guess that's the question: is he a building block player? Is he a brick and not just the mortar?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are multiple kinds of bricks, right? I mean, there's the massive one that's Bobby Witt Jr., that was Salvador Perez, that was at points Eric Haase, these guys who you build your team around, Alex Gordon back at, all those guys. And they're still important bricks that if you can get that cost certainty and a little bit of savings. I mean, I think let's be fair. This is not, teams don't lock up players to give the players a favor. Salvador Perez, maybe they did, but teams don't generally lock up players to do them a favor. They do it to help them too. It's a win. It's a compromise on both ends.
It's a business.
It's a business, yeah, and it is. Whether we want to believe it or not, it's true. It is. And so yes, if I think that he's important enough, especially with the lack of offense coming through the system, that if you've got a 25-year-old who can play a position that I don't really see a prospect close at third base, and you can lock down the left side of your infield, and to your point, do it for save a little bit of money, at least on the front end, then yeah, I think that does make a lot of sense. And I think, to your point too, Rays or Cardinals, if you ask the Royals, they'd say Cardinals, I would think. But yeah, I think they're probably more in the middle, but leaning toward the Cardinals side. I don't know if it's 60%, 70% there, but they're not on the Rays side of that spectrum in the middle there. I don't think. I think they're more on the Cardinal side in their opinion. And so I think that you find these guys and you say, okay, this is somebody who we can get for a relatively good deal that still sets him up, but also allows us some certainty on the cost down the road, allows us the ability to have him for a couple of years. And the thing about Garcia, so he's a free agent at is it 29? I think he's got 4 years after this. Is that right?
Yeah, he's under control playing in his 29th season. His birthday's in March. Okay. So every year he's the same age throughout.
So yeah, okay.
The course of the season. So he is going to be a Super 2 and get 4 years of arbitration starting next year.
Right. But so he will hit free agency heading into his age 30 season as of right now.
Yeah.
I think you can lock up 30 and 31, maybe an option for 32, and that's appealing to him because guys with his skill set do tend to get paid again. Not huge. You're not getting a 10-year deal at 33, but I think he could go out there and if he's confident in himself, I think he looks at that and says, okay, I can get 4 years and $80 million at age 33. If this all, I mean, we're projecting way out based on 72 games, but I think that would be attractive to him and the team. And so, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Obviously you got to find the deal. It doesn't, if he won 7 years and 200 million, then it's not going to happen. But just off the top of my head, I could see like 7 years and 90 million making sense. And then you got or six years and 80 million with an option for $18 million or something. I don't know. And again, that's literally just off the top of my head, but I think that could make a lot of sense for both sides.
Yeah, I think it's impressive. He's moved into this conversation, right? It's at least a conversation. And I think it's up to the Royals. You want to be right. You don't want to tie up a bunch of money in a player that's not going to be that good, but you're also kind of paid to get it right? Like, what are all the scouts for? What are all the analytics for? If you don't have a pretty good grasp of what he is, how long do you need? I get what Dayton Moore said, but like, if what you need is for him to play 6 years, then somebody else needs to be the one evaluating this, right? Like we need you to see over the horizon. I think the industry has proven, whether it's Julio Rodriguez, who they've had some shaky times in Seattle, right? Kevin Seitzer seems to have fixed him, going in the right direction, at least this year. But there are some times that those deals don't pan out for you, but it also can put a lot of money in the coffers of the team, right? If they know they've got that cost certainty and where he is. And the other thing is it doesn't hurt trade value, right? And if you have to give a little bit more money to make sure that there's no trade clause in there, I think that can be an important part of the equation as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to, certainly it always starts with the player, the work that he's done, that we're having this discussion. But we're having this discussion. It's a real deal. If you are discussing your insurance, we recommend our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance.
Green Light Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-thru and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Green Light difference. Visit us today.
All right, let's talk a little bit about when it's time to buy or sell for this team. Do we have a record in mind? Listen, I think we were at a point, and I still am at a point, I want to be clear, that I'm of the mindset this team needs to sell. I know they've won 2 games in a row and everybody gets excited. But I think when you look in the standings, and I'm excited, and I hope they keep it going, and they do seem to be a resilient bunch. And there were a couple of times last year where you're like, okay, I'm ready to write them off. And here they go. Ready to write them off early this year. They go 15-2. Part of why I'm pessimistic right now is because I think the schedule, I think this year is a tougher American League. There's really only, there isn't a White Sox team. The White Sox are bad, but they don't seem to be like they're just a pushover. Obviously, they took 2 out of 3 from the Royals. And there's really only 3 bad teams. The Rangers don't have a winning record, but they're at least a competitive team. And I think for me, part of why right now I'm of the mindset that they should be actively seeking deals that are selling is because of how many teams are in front of them. Like right now they need to pass. They're only 2 games back in the wild card, but they have to pass 4 teams, five teams, because 2 of them are tied down there at the bottom. Can it be done? Sure. Are they just a hot streak away from being back in the playoffs? Yes. The question is, are they going to get hot? What mathematically, record-wise, David, you got to see where you say, or is it another sign to where you say, okay, it's time to sell?
Well, I mean, I think, yes, there are other signs. If some more guys get hurt, if Lugo is out, if I'm not going to say anybody else because I'll get yelled at for even suggesting it in the universe, but certain players get hurt.
Say it.
I'm not. You can say it.
Okay.
I don't want to get yelled at. I don't want to get yelled at. But if certain guys get hurt, it doesn't matter if they win. Like you're not winning without Bobby Witt. Let's be real. You're not winning without Vinny Pasquantino. We saw what happened last year when he got hurt. You're not winning without those guys. You just aren't. And so yes, if they were winning games and then those guys get hurt, it doesn't matter what the record is. I don't think. But record wise, if they play every game as scheduled, will be at 97 games at the All-Star break. I had said when they started this stretch, they were 34-38. If they are under 500 in the final 25 games, so that's 46-51, or is that right? 46-51 at the break. Sell, 100% sell. That's my 100% sell. 47-50, 48-49, 49-48, 50-47. I don't know. 49-48. You get to the break at 50-47, and I think you owe it to the players to at least explore what you can get. And that still gives you 2 weeks before the deadline, I think, after the break. So that to me, those middle ground is where you go, I don't know. Gauge both sides, figure it out. And if you're not getting the players you want, sell. If you're not getting the deals you want for the players you want to sell, buy. Like there. But if you get to 50-47 at the break, that's probably putting you close to wild card position. I mean, look at the stand. I know that there's all the teams in front, but the Guardians are currently in the 3rd wild card tied with the Red Sox, 2 games over 500. The Royals and Rangers are 2 games under 500, 2 games out. It's just a hodgepodge. And I think that I don't think you get as much of a return on selling as people think. I think it's worth it if you're still within range to be buying at that point, to me. But again, there are other factors involved. The other thing too, this is something I keep coming back to, and I looked this up yesterday. At some point this year, there have been 8 American League teams that have been 4 games under at one point and 4 games over at one point. This is a league of really inconsistent, imperfect teams.
Mediocrity.
And so, total mediocrity. We can call it parity, but it's mediocrity. And the reality is, it's about when you get hot, and which is terrible because you can't know. Oh, we're about to get go. The Royals were 8-14. They didn't know they were about to go 16-2. I mean, they believed it, but they didn't know it, and so it makes it very difficult. But I'm looking. The Rays and Blue Jays were definite sellers like a month ago. They're wild card 1 and wild card 2. I don't know. I think you have to go for it if you're 50-47 or better.
Okay, how about you, Les? Where's the mark where you go? Okay, it's the for sale sign goes in the yard.
I was pretty close with David. I think I had the number at 7 games under 500. So I think we're jiving pretty good right there. Soren, you had mentioned Texas, and I'm just talking offense right now. But here's the difference between those two offensive teams. They're both 2 games under. I feel like Texas is really under producing. So the Royals are a -20 run differential right now. The Rangers are 2 games under 500, but they're a +19. So that's almost 40 runs difference of offense, which to me shows you that if they just get some decent pitching up to the All-Star break, then they're going to probably start winning more. I mean, I wrote this down, and David, I'm glad you said it too. We talk about mediocrity. For the Royals to get to a position where they feel like it's okay not to sell and just buy, they got to compete with Cleveland, Tampa Bay, Toronto, Boston, Seattle, the Angels, and the Rangers. That's a lot of teams. And even if most of those teams crap the bed on themselves, there's still 1 or 2 of those teams that's probably going to move up. And like you said, there's 2 teams in there that are already 1 and 2. Tampa Bay and Toronto are 1-2 in that wild card spot. I just see a tough road to hoe there. And again, I'm not trying to just be negative. I'm going by the whole season in the sense that they're still offensively low. There's been some improvement, sure, but offensively, it just hasn't been good enough. When you've got players like Vinny, who has this massive turnaround, and that is unbelievably hard. I don't think people talk about what Vinny did to turn around what looked like one of the worst seasons he could ever have in the big leagues, and now he's a way better hitter. Bobby Witt Jr., who isn't probably where he can be, but still carrying a lot. And then Maikel Garcia, who saw that coming, but he is absolutely raking. So you've got those 3 guys that are hitting. Salvy gets hot once in a great while, and they're still not performing the way they should. And so for me, that just dictates the sell a little bit, still a little bit of time. But, if it's at 7 games under, I do think it's sell time. We talk about these little time frames of streaks and waiting to get to the All-Star break. I think that coming up, this little stretch right here of games up to the All-Star break is a big sign of what the future of this team can be instead of the whole season. It's weird how that comes into play, but I think we need to be watching it very, very closely, and the Royals got to get it right.
I think this is, Matt says, let's be honest. There are 12 teams that will make the playoffs, but only 3 teams have a shot to win the World Series.
It's a good point.
I think it is a great point. And I think, there are 4 teams that have really separated themselves in the American League: the Yankees, the Rays, the Tigers, and the Astros. And I know if you're a casual fan, if you just love the Royals, you don't really follow the other teams, you're probably like, wait a minute, what do you mean the Rays? Yes, the Rays, who started slow, have come on and are playing, and they've got a plus 68 run differential. It's not like, it's just some fluky wins. The run differential says that, no, the Rays are actually good. We know the Tigers have been outstanding. We know what the Yankees can do. And the Astros, who also were off to kind of a slow start and have kind of shuffled, lost some pieces of their puzzle. They're 12 over now and plus 54 in the run differential. But baseball is a weird game, and a best of 7 series is a small sample size. A best of 3 is even, smaller. Anything can happen. If you run out there and Cole Ragans is back healthy, or maybe he's not. You run Lugo and Chris Bubich, you go 2-0 and win a wild card. So
we saw it last year.
We saw it
I mean-
last year. But can you go 2-0 and then can you turn around and go 4-3 and then 4-3? Like, that's the question. And is that the goal? Is the goal to win a World Series? Should you? I think for me, I don't really mind where they are right now if they go either direction. But I want it to be the organizational philosophy moving forward, right? If their philosophy is it's baseball, playoffs are a small sample size, all you got to do is get in the tournament and anybody can win. Assuming we've got a couple of stud pitchers that are out there, we're not just a complete 2003 Royal anomaly, had that team backed into the playoffs. I love him as a guy. God bless him. The late Jose Lima was a great guy to cover, but Jose Lima wasn't going to deal your way to the World Series, right? So maybe I would say if there's a complete fluke of a team that gets in there, okay. But for me, what this is establish what your mindset is going to be. If you believe it's a wide open tournament, then anytime you're in this position, then buy. You don't have to go all in, trade every prospect you got, but at least either hold, buy cautiously, or buy. Fine. As long as you do it every time. If you're going to look at this and say, we're not one of those real teams that can win the World Series, and our goal is to put a pennant out there, is to put a flag out there. And so we might get in there, but we're really just kind of commercial filler for the playoffs. The real teams are the Dodgers. They are the Yankees. They are the Tigers. And we're not really one of those. So we're going to sell because we want to be one of those teams. Fine. But do it every time. Don't go back and forth and jerk us around, right? Like I think that's part of what I think you have to establish the culture of your team. If we've got a shot, we fight for it. Okay. That's what Royals baseball is. To David's point, they're 3 under, but they are going to add to this team because they think they got a shot. Or it's we're here to hang flags. This team's not good enough. And if you wanted us to add to this team, you guys should have hit better. You should have pitched better. So we're going to not blow it all up, but we're going to sell the pieces that aren't going to be here next year. I think either way, I'm fine with, but just commit to it and make it your organizational approach. Yeah,
there's this mystique of hope out there that sometimes drives decisions that shouldn't be made. And if I'm hearing you right, go with what is this formula of winning, or at least tell us what are you going to do? Tell your team, what are you going to do, instead of some seasons, like you say, we're going to do it this way this year, but next year, we're close. And so we're going to go on hope and see what happens. And then it backfires on you. Inconsistency is not a fun thing. And so, to your point, I agree. Know what you're doing, let it be known what you're doing, and then stick with that plan.
Yeah. I think it's so important for them.
But
yeah, go ahead.
I will say real quick, this is there are a lot of ifs here, but you go into a playoff series with Cole Ragans, we'll get to him, Seth Lugo, and Chris Bubich. I think you can win that playoff series.
Yeah,
if they're healthy, and I think that also, because to your point too. I mean, you go in there with I don't know, Mike Minor and all that. Like if you get there, that's. I think the makeup of your team depends on that. And I think that if you're the Royals, you look at this club and you say, okay, if a team is going to surprise in the playoffs, this is the formula, and we have that formula. I think it's different than, look, teams surprise, but teams that look like us never surprise. So we're not going. And so I think there is also a difference there, in not just an overarching, we're 2 games out, we're going to buy every year no matter what. I think you have to look at the makeup of the team. And my opinion is that the makeup of this team, and again, it rests a lot on Cole Ragans, honestly, but the makeup of this team is such that if you are going to make a run that you're and win it when you're not one of those 3 or 4 teams, the Royals with a healthy Cole Ragans have that makeup. They've got the superstar, they've got the starting pitching, they've got the back end of the bullpen. That's what's going to win in the playoffs, and that's why I'd be more aggressive with this club. Also, you want to make Bobby happy.
Yeah. And that is part of it too. Yeah. And I think Salvador Perez heating up for 8 games, knock on wood. Let's hope that's going to keep going.
It's more than that.
We talk about Maikel Garcia. We'll do a little bit more on him. I know you've got some interesting numbers on him, but I think with those things, if they're hitting, they inspire the organization to believe, right? Like, everybody playing better, I think, is an important part of the equation. I want to touch on this. We don't need to do too much. I had on a guy named Mark Healy on the radio show. He put out a tweet, right? He is a blogger, has a blog called Gotham Baseball, but he's also the editor of a small paper in Rockaway, New York. He is a former AP writer. right? So this is somebody who's been riding around baseball for quite some time. He tweeted out, I'm hearing Royals. I want to be clear what it says. I'm hearing Royals ownership has told JJ Picollo to start thinking about trading some veteran talent. With that in mind, I certainly hope that Seth Lugo is on the Mets' radar. He's certainly going to be attractive for many teams. Mets shouldn't wait to inquire. I want to stress, start thinking about trading some veteran talent, not Seth Lugo must go. And I think it's easy to read this if you're a Royals fan or if you're a Royal, if you're a player, and come away and not fully digest the exact words that the man said and say, well, he's saying that the edict has come down from ownership to trade the veterans. You take the words, definitively that's not what it says. Sam Mellinger, who's the vice president of communications for the Royals, said, this is none true, 0%. Please kindly stop making things up. Mark responded, I don't make things up, Sam. I appreciate how quickly you and JJ responded to the report. Sam then said, laugh out loud, zero truth to it, and you know it. Right? There's an edge coming there from the vice president of the Royals. Mark Healy said, if I knew it, quotes around knew, I wouldn't have said otherwise. You have your job to do. I have mine. I had him on, Mark on, and he basically said, listen, I do this thing where I say what I'm hearing. I call around to people I know in the game. They tell me what they're hearing, and I put it out there. And he said, it's a person who's strongly connected to the Royals. What does that mean? I don't know. Is a guy going to give me a source? He's not. Did I pry on it? I didn't. And so I'm just curious. Like, I believe as a journalist, there are people who tell me things that I don't put on the radio because I don't know if they're true. I got somebody I can quote, right? Like I can quote people that'll tell you the Royals building is going to go at the Sprint campus, the old Sprint campus.
Yeah.
I got other people that are telling me it cannot go there. Right. I could quote either one and I have a source, right? But my job is to find out what's actually true. I don't know. I don't know what's true on that. I don't know if it's going to go there. I also know that there's a place in Clay County. Like, I don't think the Royals know where they're going to go. I bring this up not to talk stadium. I bring it up to tell you what I think my job is. I don't like how Mark Healy, if he had somebody on the fringes, I don't know what he considers strongly connected, would put this out. To me, you call JJ Picollo, which I did. Mm-hmm. And JJ Picollo said, absolutely not true. Right? So there's that whole part. I wouldn't have run with that. I wouldn't have put that out there because it's not true. I may have someone who's telling me that. And who is it? I don't know. Is it a former Royals coach, manager? Is it a scout for the Royals? Scouts get together and are all over the country and they're just kind of, at some point, and it wasn't phrased the right way. And so somebody took it that they said that. Is it secondhand knowledge, third-hand knowledge? I don't know. I wouldn't have run with it because JJ Picollo says it's not true. So I want to be clear about that. But here's the part. Why are the Royals responding to a New York City blogger that says that they have been told to start thinking about trading? I said this to some people in the organization. I'm not talking about this if they don't respond. Mm-hmm. But when they respond, everybody in the Twitter sphere, Royals fans getting a tizzy, and now it's a story. Yeah. It really wasn't a story. It was just a guy with kind of a thing that a few people would have seen. But when the Royals have a vice president who responds to it, they validate. They say this man's opinion and what he writes is important to us, and we want to set the record straight. Like, Les, I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I love what you said about that, and I appreciate this about you as a journalist too. There's journalistic integrity that should always be followed, and if yes, I'm a former player 30 years ago, right? And so if I still wasn't involved with the Royals and all I did was play 30 years ago, could I say, I'm still close to the Royals because I played 30 years ago? I mean, you should at least, even if you don't name it, you should be a little more clear to be able to do that. And so when you kind of make it foggy, it really questions your integrity and credibility, because anybody can say, well, I have a source close to the Royals. Is it somebody that lives in Kansas City and doesn't work for them? I mean, you just don't know that.
Who lives in Independence? So they're
right. Did they drive past the stadium last week?
Yeah. Yeah. I looked it up on the computer. And so I have a picture of Kauffman Stadium on my computer. It's my backdrop all the time. So I'm close to the Royals. So again, the idea is that, but I'm with you. Don't respond to this. It leads me to believe Look, and I know JJ's under intense pressure all the time. It just leads me to believe that there's some frustration there on the Royals' part if they're going to respond in kind. And then for JJ to even get involved after Sam does it. I know Sam has a job to do and he probably shouldn't have. But if it was just Sam, okay, I get it. Maybe he just gets tired of stuff. It almost leads me to believe, even if it's not true, it almost leads me to have that pause of, okay, well, is it true? So now I'm really going to start watching, okay, what are the Royals going to do now? Because if they do trade away a Seth Lugo and a Sal Perez, we're going to retroactively come back and say, okay, was this true?
Yeah.
And so by responding it in a couple different areas, it kind of brings credibility almost, or even a false sense of credibility to something that shouldn't have been given that.
There's the element of he doth protest too much. Like, why are you worrying about this? Is kind of where it set my radar off. And look, David, I'll be clear. JJ was adamant this is not true, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's true. But again, I think that the Royals are hung up on that fact, and I think players, right? Like, I think players could be like, well, wait a minute, am I gone? I'm Seth Lugo. His name is in there. Like, so are you guys trading me or what? I would understand why he would call, but you know what? That's part of the job. That is the world we live in. Social media exists. People write things that aren't true all the time, all over the
time.
And you've got to figure out what really warrants it. And so I'm sorry if you had to tell Seth Lugo, no, we're not trading you. And no, John hasn't said that. We are firmly behind the team. I know it sucks, but last year was kind of such a fairy tale of going from 56 wins to 86 wins. That there was really not any bumps along the way. They were 2-4 and then they got going and they were always above 500 and now they're experiencing some of the rough ways, right? Like the season didn't start perfectly. They're not playing great baseball right now. And they've got to learn that, sometimes some crap's going to come your way. And I think, David, here's the other part. So if somebody puts out there that they're looking at trading Salvador Perez and the Royals don't respond, does that make it true? Like that's the deal. Once you announce that, once you say, I'm going to respond to what this isn't true, that's why I responded. So then if you never respond, which is, we know it's impossible to be on top of everything that's thrown out there on Twitter. So if you don't respond to somebody else who says they're trading Bobby Witt Jr., is a fan supposed to go, well, where's the vice president saying this isn't true? I guess it's true. Like this just tactically was a poor decision. Dave.
Guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
They've set a precedent that you don't want to set. And what is interesting, and I hadn't really thought about this. You guys were talking and it popped in my head. I wonder a little bit if it's not defensive about the team. It's not, I don't like that this guy made something up. I don't think he made anything up, by the way. I think that I think
someone definitely. Yeah. The question is it someone he should have quoted and put out there? Well, I personally think it's something he floated around for New York people, and he never thought anybody in Kansas City would see it. He's stunned that it's a thing in Kansas City. And I think you're right, dude. I think there's a real question is whether or not it was something that he should have even, quoted.
Right. But also, even if he didn't say anything, I'm hearing, I've been told that they might start thinking, I might start thinking about what I'm going to eat for dinner tomorrow night at some point, but it's not until tomorrow. I don't know. It's that part of it. But I wonder a little bit, and I'm just concocting this theory in my head right now, but I wonder a little bit if the Royals saw that and kind of took offense and said, well, I can make my own decision. I don't need ownership to tell me. I don't need ownership to tell me how to do my job. I don't need to be told. Yeah, I know what our record is. And the other side of that, does that make ownership look cheap? Is this a little protective of John Sherman and his ownership group to say, no, they're not giving us any edict. They stay out of business. They are not meddling owners. Like, I wonder if there's some level of that too, because
that's a good point. They are under pressure trying to get a stadium location and eventually tax dollars, and they don't need to be sending the message that we're going to bail at the first sign of trouble.
Right. And so I don't know. Like I said, literally popped in my head 2 minutes ago. So I haven't fully formed this thought, but I do think that that makes a lot of sense to me, that they're protecting their themselves really, and ownership a little bit in a way, to say, no, this ownership group writes the checks. They get involved because they do write the check. And John Sherman understands baseball in a way that a lot of owners seem like they don't. But it does maybe feel a little bit like, oh, we need to protect. This is our reputation a little bit that's getting hurt by this. So let's stand out against this. Whereas if the report was, hey, the Royals are starting to think about trading veterans, it's different than ownership telling JJ Picollo they need to start thinking about trading veterans.
My question real quick, guys, on that though, is that if this were SI, ESPN, MLB.com, something like that, I get that. But is there a need to protect yourself and your organization and ownership on this guy's word? So
it had gotten some legs before that, to be fair, but not. It didn't explode until Sam's response, which
it wasn't going to be a topic on my show until he responded. I don't say that as like we're the measuring stick, but we are a place where Royals fans go to hear information, and this was not something I was going to put out there.
Right.
Well, we wouldn't be talking about it today.
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah.
So I think it's interesting. Listen, if you're hungry, Whataburger's open 24 hours a day. Your favorites are back, Kansas City. Now for a limited time at all your KC Whataburger locations, get the mushroom and Swiss burger, 2 large beef patties, Swiss American cheese, fire-roasted mushrooms, and creamy au jus. How about the sweet and spicy bacon burger, 2 large beef patties, American and Monterey Jack cheese, bacon, grilled onions, and topped with sweet and spicy pepper sauce. Or grab the patty melt, even the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich. They're all perfect with the Whataburger banana pudding shake. Remember, Whataburger's open 24 hours a day with breakfast served from 11 p to 11 a. And don't forget, you can get all your Whataburger favorites and more by downloading the Whataburger app with the QR code. Whataburger, proud sponsor of the Kaufman Corner podcast. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations: North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. All right, let's talk about Salvador Perez. He is, as we said, heating up. David, we hope this is something that's going to continue because he was a big part of why they were, a top half of the American League offense last year, certainly until Vinny Pasquantino got hurt. But it less could be more with not to, less and Lesky. There's a lot of less in this podcast. But less could be more for him. Like, he does seem to do better when maybe you don't play him all the time.
Yeah, he does. I got some numbers on that. But one thing I didn't realize this. And I think what happened, he had that game in Chicago that was just brutal. That 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts where he chased, I think, 140% of the pitches that were thrown. And that's really skewed us since the end of that Giants series. And this is totally arbitrary, but he's hit 297 with a 347 on base and 560 slug. That's 98 plate appearances. We got skewed by a bad game, I think. He's been hitting pretty well for a while now. It hasn't helped the offense generally because they're 9-14 in those 23 games. But anyway, I put together some numbers. This is what he's done after an off day. And I'll give you 2 sets. One is including both games of a doubleheader, and one is without the second game, because I'm not sure which is fair, honestly. Yeah. But with the second game of the doubleheaders, 389, 413, 597 after not playing the day before. Without the second game, it's still great. 365, 394, 571, which means you take away, let's do this without the second game one. You take away those numbers. Otherwise, 204, 235, 346. That's absolutely brutal. Now, I didn't look. Is there a bump the day after not catching, like DH to the next day? I don't know. I'd have to go through again. I just looked straight days off,
right,
just for time purposes. But yeah, I mean, he's 35, right? Is he 35? 34.
I'll give you
35. He just turned 35. That's not young in baseball terms.
Mm-mm.
Younger than all of us, but it's not young in baseball terms. And
yeah,
that he's caught, I don't know, 1 billion innings. I don't even know the number. Thousands of innings of baseball. I'm going to look it up because now I'm curious. Now when I get it right here, he has caught 11,150 and 2/3 innings in his career, and that's regular season.
Wow.
There's also 2 long playoff runs and 1 short one in his career. That's a lot of catching.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult position. I get it. Last year, I understood it. They needed to stop. They needed to get his bat in the lineup because it was so good that they couldn't not. But this year, and maybe it's getting back to that. Like I said, the last 23 games have been really good. But this year, just give him a whole day off. And you do that, you have a really good bat on the bench, by the way. You have a power bat on the bench who is rested because he hasn't caught for the first 7 innings and batted 3 times. I think that, and some of this will have to do with Jack Caglione getting going too, because they need him to get started and start to hit. But I think you give him a day off a week, especially on a week. And I don't think it's any coincidence that he's been hitting well when they've had a day off every week. Like that. This stretch coincides with they were Thursdays for 3 weeks and then Mondays the whole month. I don't think it's a coincidence. He's getting days off every single month. You might, when there's no off days, you might have to be the one to give him that day off and not the schedule.
I mean, he wants to play every day, but this is where the manager's got to manage, right? Like there's a lot of, I just think, absolute noise complaining about Matt Quatraro right now. Yeah. But I mean, I think like if you want to complain, find something that's legit. And this to me is one that like you need to back off. And if it's something Salvy doesn't want to hear, that's what Matt Quatraro is paid to do. Tell the players the things they don't want to hear.
Yeah, it is. Look, Salvy's voice carries weight. He's earned it. I get it. But the numbers don't lie. If I'm managing, I am, and again, I know this is, it's 2020 vision all the time kind of thing. I get it. It's backseat driver kind of thing. But if I'm managing, I'm giving Salvy at least 1 day off a week, and I'm DHing him one of those days and playing maybe a game at first base mixed in there as well, because I need his offensive production. I need his power bat. I need him to hit those doubles. I need him to get to at least 40, which he's on pace for. But I need him to get there, and he's 260 to 280. Nobody knows. Nobody sees him on the scale. I mean, that's a big dude, and that's a lot of weight to be squatting in all those innings David talked about. Even playing first base, you're not squatting as a catcher, but you're still using your upper legs, and so I just feel like if even with that voice, I know he wants to play every day. I know Salvy is chirping in his ear, hey, I don't want a day off. I don't want a day off. But are you helping the team? Are you not helping the team? And the numbers don't lie. So for me, at least one full day off. 1 or 2 of those games have to be DH, and you start limiting his catching production, because if you do get into the playoffs this year or even next year, he's going to play every inning behind the plate. He's going to catch. And you can't have a guy that is running on fumes. It's hard enough back there with his size and his durability. So I definitely follow those numbers on days off.
Yeah. You've got Freddie Fermin. You've got another catcher. Now, we did see Freddie Fermin start to play every day towards the end of last year, and he kind of wore down bat-wise. So there are some balls that are being juggled here by Matt Quatraro. I don't think any of us are saying this is easy. Just do this, and the maximum returns will come out. So I get it, but those numbers are they really pop. When David was talking about that, I was like, that should say something to you. Getting this guy some rest is an important thing. Cole Ragans. Are we going to see him again this year? Like, I'm hearing 4 to 5 weeks, but it's a shoulder. If in 4 to 5 weeks it's still barking at him, we're not going to see him at all. And then I think you're talking about surgery. It's like 4 to 5 weeks for our next, signpost. Although, David, you've been hearing maybe not quite that long.
Well, and Rogers put it out yesterday that he's shut down for 4 weeks, which a week and a half is gone of that already. So. And then they're going to reevaluate. And so that's encouraging. It sounds like there's no surgery necessary right now. Encouraging. Just rest and rehab, which that's doable, very doable. I think it's very easy to say, oh, he's going to start throwing in 2.5 weeks. No, he's going to get reevaluated in 2.5 weeks, and he might start throwing. And now I'm hearing, I've played poker with this doctor before. And so I texted her and I said, hey, I know you don't do this. What does this mean? Because they still know. It's not like it's not their specialty.
Or at least what's the range of possibilities here?
And she said it, she goes, I don't know the guy. I've never seen the guy. I don't work on athletes' injuries, all that. But it sounds encouraging relative to what it could have been. And so Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a wait and see at this point. But even if it takes another 4 weeks after these 2.5 weeks, you could still get him back for mid-August, and maybe that's better. Maybe you get Cole Ragans is going to air it out for 8 weeks, and then you might start thinking about maybe we should trade this guy before he blows up completely. That's a story we can talk about in October, November. But it kind of sounds, from what I've heard, it's way better than I thought it was going to be. But we're obviously still in that wait and see mode. I said on your show Monday, I think he does pitch this year. I said it very optimistically on Monday. I feel like it's much closer to realistic than it was then. But we don't know. It's a shoulder. It could go bad, but I feel better today than I did 2 days ago.
The ball player mindset is always, I got one more batter in me, Skip.
Yep.
I can make a swing. Les, I mean, what do you take away? Where should the mindset be about Cole Ragans right now?
I'm definitely encouraged about the report. Don't get me wrong. I want to start with that. This is not pessimism or negativity. It is, first of all, let's remember this is Cole Ragans, who's supposed to be the ace of your staff, who can carry a team on his shoulders if need be. The problem is that I feel like if you get to the point where he gets reevaluated and he starts throwing again and he goes through one more stretch of discomfort, I feel like it's shut down for the season. Because then if you get to the end of the season, say they do start playing well and they are contending for one of those final wild card spots, okay? Do you want him to be healthy then, but he hasn't pitched in so long and now he's got lack of control and you expected him to win and he walks 7-8 guys and they lose by 4 or 5 runs? Is it really worth putting him in that situation? And so I think right now, at least, the Royals have to start planning on him not coming back. If he does come back at the break where he's throwing, he is healthy. Okay, the discomfort's gone. It was just one of those things where he hadn't pitched in a while. He was using his legs and his arm was dragging, or there was a mechanical issue that made his arm sore. Okay, no problem. That can be fixed. I mean, I remember dislocating my collarbone from my shoulder, and one doctor told me, you will never play baseball again. Well, the trainers had me back on the field without surgery and my collarbone on my right side, again, I'm not pitching, I get that, but it was such a bad injury. But yet within 2 months, I was playing catch with Tim Belcher from foul pole to foul pole all the way across. So you just don't know. That's encouraging. But again, I just don't know if you can stomach one more thing. You got to be able to protect this guy. You want him on the field, but he's still young enough and still good enough that he can be your ace. So I just think you got to be careful and wait and see.
Yeah, I like this. Wait, Lesky plays poker.
A little bit.
Yeah,
here and there.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
here and there.
I thought he talked to a doctor who played poker.
Does he win at poker?
Yeah, David obviously didn't take.
I do some winning. We played together.
I like this entire. So David didn't take away enough money from his doctor friend in poker because they would have stiffed him the information.
Let me tell you, she just won a tournament in Vegas.
Okay.
And took home more than 2.
She was going easy on you.
Player.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm taking some hands off her. All right, calm down.
All right. And then lastly, Cam says, if the Royals are out of it by the end of the evaluation period, then just shut them down and get them rest next year. I think we all agree on that.
Question though, let's say that he just can't get built up, but he can pitch. Do you throw him in the bullpen?
I mean, how long does it take to build him up? Like 2 starts?
Well, if you say, look, we need a whole off season of rest to be built up, but we can get you pitching 2 innings at a time by August 1st, and we're in it. I don't know. I don't even know. I just, again, concocted that in my head 2 seconds ago. But
I'm with you. It comes down to if they're in it, right?
Yeah,
that's the key phrase there, right? I think. Let's hope it all keeps going well. Real quick, the Rays are said to be selling for $1.7 billion. They're selling to a Jacksonville real estate developer. There's plenty of Tampa investors in his group, and the expectation is, and it's at top first part of the story, they're not moving him to Jacksonville. He's buying the team to keep it in Tampa, right? Like that is, and they're headed down that road. It looks like it's going to happen. First of all, $1.7 billion for the Rays. I mean, doesn't that mean the Royals are worth more than that? I would think.
Probably.
I mean, and I've heard talk that the plan for the stadium was like the $6 billion overall development for the Rays, and the Rays, stadium is going to be part of it. So maybe that's a lot of the value that they've got planned, or I don't know. But I think that's one interesting. This is a team that just sold in what, 2019?
It was before COVID, so 19, yeah.
For $1 billion, and the last evaluation I saw, I think out of Forbes, was $1.3 billion. The Lakers sold for $10 billion, by the way. I'm not saying the Royals or the Lakers, but I'm just tell you, like, I always hear these prices when I say, like, well, Forbes value, it's not worth that. And then they sell for more, right? Like, I've never seen Forbes overshoot the number that a team ended up selling for. So, like, if that's the value of your team, if the Royals are worth $1.7 billion, there's a lot of equity there that can be built up in the revenue, of what you can do to put money into the team, whether that's building a stadium for yourself or putting money into the ball club. Let me point that out, right? You can take out some loans. So that's a part of the equation. I also think a real estate developer is who's buying the Rays. And I'll go back to something Mark Cuban said when he sold on the Mavericks, and people asked him, why are you selling? Right. And he said, well, because franchise ownership used to be about being tech savvy and being TV savvy. I'm really good at that. Now it's about being real estate savvy. The next step in all these teams is becoming a real estate conglomerate. And that's not what I do. So I'm selling out to a guy who knows what he's doing.
It's wisdom.
Yeah. And now, and being part of intelligence is knowing what you don't know. Right. And like, how many billionaires are like, I'm not that good at that. Most billionaires, first of all, I don't hear many of them talk. And when they do talk, like the only one I've ever sat down with, I think would be Cliff Hill, the owner of Sporting Kansas City. And he's great to talk to, right? I think he's, a completely unassuming individual. You would never know if you just saw him in a room like, oh, that guy's a billionaire. That's it. Here ends the list. And I interviewed Mark Cuban once. Here ends the list of billionaires I've ever spoken to. But I think it is pretty wise when a billionaire will tell you, I don't know this. I think it's important for John Sherman to understand, make sure he's got people who know what they're doing around him. Because it doesn't feel like they really know what they're doing just yet. And I'm wondering if they're lacking in the real estate magnet business. I don't know.
Might be. The one thing about the Rays, it's a letter of intent, right? And apparently they've had like 6 that have never gone anywhere. So we'll see. But
there's another story that Major League Baseball has told the Rays. These are some rumblings that Major League Baseball has told the Rays, listen, there are deals being offered by the city of Tampa that you're not taking.
Yeah.
Either take the deals or sell the team. Like Major League Baseball has grown tired. You are right. David is absolutely right about what he's saying. But that there's a push from why this one is getting more traction is that supposedly Major League Baseball is saying, we're tired of screwing around. Like, we got to get a building built, right? You're playing in a minor league park, for God's sake. And on top of that, it probably says to me that the Tropicana Field repairs are not going well. And they're like, we got to get something to sell this market, that there is leadership, there is a direction going on here, which I think does also kind of speak to the Royals. There needs to be a direction and a plan. I think Kansas City is ready to hear what the plan is, right? Like, I mean, yes. I think that kind of fits here too, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I got asked the other day, I was signing autographs downtown Lee Summit, and this lady came up to me and put her finger in my face and said, you're giving the Royals a bad reputation. I said, I am. Okay. Why is that? This whole stadium thing, I'm like, oh boy. So yeah, I listened to it, and apparently guys that played 30 years ago know everything about the stadium. So I'm curious as well. It'd be fun to find out.
Real quick, did she also tell you that Mac Potrero hung a 2-0 pitch to Aaron Judge? Just out of curiosity, was this the same person?
She did not, but to give you the context, she was wearing a full-out Ghostbusters, including the backpack outfit.
Well, so she knows what's up. Let's be real. This is Les's fault.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. Listen, you can always support the Kaufman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors like David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. They did great work for me. They can do great work for you. If you've got a question about any of your insurance, call 816-781-7331. Our friends at Greenlight Dispensary with 15 locations in Missouri and more on the way. Greenlight is the go-to for all of your cannabis needs. Tell them you saw it right here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. Sorry, getting my podcast confused there. And by our friends at Whataburger. Now for a limited time at all your Whataburger locations. Get the Pico de Gallo burger, the sweet and spicy bacon burger. My favorite, the patty melt. Maybe it's the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich. And of course, the banana pudding shake, the ultimate way to wash it down. Remember, they're open 24 hours a day, serving breakfast 11 p to 11 a. For David Lesky, for Les Norman, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.